the new audio video that has come out. This is part 2 of their investigation, where massive voter fraud is discussed at length and specific tactics used to perpetrate this against the American people and steal an election if possible. And James O'Keefe from Project Veritas is back with us today. How are you, sir?
Hey, Sean. Great to be with you again.
What did I tell you 7 years ago again?
You said I need to cross my T's and dot my I's.
Okay. And didn't I say you need lawyers to go over every single thing?
And we certainly did that. We had a dozen lawyers go through this.
And didn't I say at the time that you need at least a few lawyers? And yesterday you told me a dozen lawyers. Can I advise you? I would up that to about 50 to 100, because they are going to come after you so hard. This is very explosive what you're showing us here. And I want to get serious for a minute. How long have you been involved in this investigation?
Over a year. We've had 8 full-time, undercover, full-time investigative journalists working for my organization, Veritas, for over a year. We had to, the lengths to which we had to go as deep as we did, building relationships, putting our people, our people were literally risking their lives to do this. The young 22-year-old, 23-year-old people that were involved in this went and worked for them and built relationships with them. And we got invited to the White House, Sean. I couldn't go because I would be entering by false pretenses, but
did any of your people go?
I couldn't, because we would have to forge a social security number. We wouldn't pass a background check. We were using an alias. But we were so far embedded in their infrastructure, they told us everything.
What is amazing to me is the level to which they brag about what they're doing. Brag about the violence they created. Brag about take responsibility for what happened in Chicago. Brag that a 69-year-old woman, it was widely reported, was a victim of violence at a Trump rally. It turns out that she is one of their operatives, and this was purposely designed to manipulate the minds of the American people. I mean, it shocks the conscience that this is going on in America.
And the new video is about 15 minutes of video. This is even more inflammatory. The guy in the video, Scott Fovel, introduces us to a dark operative named Cesar Vargas, an illegal alien who runs a group called Voces de la Frontera in Wisconsin, and they describe how they commit the voter fraud. This has never been seen before by the American people. It's never been seen.
Let me play the audio, and then you can explain it out of it, so we have enough time to go through all of this slowly. Let's play it.
Vargas is an interesting character. He is the co-founder of the Dream Action Coalition, a New York lawyer and a dreamer himself. Born in Mexico, Vargas is an undocumented alien.
What he was that this idea, and Scott made it seem possible, but said it wasn't possible but even though it was actually possible, is essentially getting a bunch of people on a bus or whatever, taking them around the country. They legally can vote, so they can vote. At the same time, they're also getting work permits under a different name and voting again on behalf of people who cannot vote.
Right. Yeah, I was to say, can we make some progress, especially within midterm elections in 2018? This is not going to happen, right?
I know that.
It's not going to happen. So I think it's not about, for us, let's see who the next president is. If it's Donald Trump, it even makes more sense. The issue would be more incredible and much more opportunity for us to jump into this. Right. If it's Secretary Clinton, the voting ID laws are loosened, and we have much more opportunity for people to vote, and we have immigration reform, it's not going to be as significant, right?
Right.
So I think
it's possible. But let's just wait for even to cross that bridge, and if we cross the bridge, can I go and possibly help us do that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Count me in.
So they're describing the difference of taking people around or busing them in or taking them around the country so they can vote illegally. And at the same time, they're also getting work permits under a different name. And again, voting on behalf of people who cannot vote. Why don't you explain specifically? Because Vargas says, yeah, right, during the midterm elections in 2018, we could definitely work on this.
Yeah, I think, Sean, you have another. That was Vargas. I think your producers might have another another bit of sound from it's better to hear where it's Foval describing the plan, the sinister plot to transport people from one state into another. I don't know if you can line that sound up, but it's basically, he just says to us, the plan they're going to do is transport people from one state into another to vote illegally using.
All right, let me play that one just to keep it. You're right, that one was hard to hear. Let's play this one.
It's a very easy thing for Republicans to say, well, they're busting people in. Well, you know what? We've been busting people in for 50 years, and we're not going to stop now. We're just going to find a different way to do it. So, I mean, I grew up with that idea. You know, they used to bus people out to Iowa. You can prove conspiracy if there's a bus. Yeah. If there are cars, it's much harder to prove.
And there's enough money.
If there's enough money, then you have people drive their POV.
Absolutely.
Or you have them drive running. Honestly, the ripest environment to do it in, two, within striking distance. Michigan, Indiana. Least restrictive donation caps and campaign finance laws and investigation and any investigative arms and any of that. Like, they have weakened it so bad in these three states.
Wow. Explain that in more detail.
Yeah, so what you just heard there was a graphic and obscene conversation from Scott Foval, who works with a Soros group called People for the American Way. Now, he's been fired. You reported that last night that on your show that he was fired. He's describing the plan, and the plan he describes, and if you didn't hear it, was to transport people from one state into another state to vote illegally using personal vehicles instead of buses to make the fraud more difficult to pinpoint and expose. Scott even says to us the WikiLeaks emails are difficult for them because they have to be careful about putting the stuff in writing, so they moved it, Sean, into encrypted messaging. They said we can only do this stuff on encrypted black box communications. He also explains the use of shell companies to disguise the fraud. And he says you got to start a shell company and move the cars over state lines. And then he says, listen, we got to be real careful of anyone finding out about this. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put you in touch with someone who can hook you up. That man's name was Cesar Vargas, and that's the illegal alien who runs the Voces de la Frontera group. You can see that in the video. He says, let's do this. He describes how to do it, and he says, not only do we need to do it here, we need to do it in the 2018 election.
Explain the beginning when Foval says you could blank your mother in front of the governor and not go to jail, because he was basically saying we can get away with all of this and we're not going to get caught. I'll play it for our audience.
You could your mother in front of the governor and not go to jail. If you had enough money.
Explain the context of that.
He's talking about, he's describing which states to do it in. He says it's really good to do this in Wisconsin, and it's really good to do it in Indiana and Michigan. The reason why he brings up Michigan, Sean, is because the governor of Michigan is a Republican, but Scott Foval thinks that some of these Republicans are sort of rhino Republicans. They're unwilling to stand up to the fraud, specifically in Michigan because there was the Flint crisis and the Flint water crisis, and the Republican governor is spineless, afraid, because he's being inundated with attacks from the opposition. So he says, do it in Michigan, because the governor you could blank your mother in front of the governor and they won't prosecute you. So Foval is describing our political climate where the Republicans are weak in the knees and unwilling to do anything about it. And Sean, the reason why these guys are singing like songbirds is, to take a little credit, my team built a relationship over a year, but it's also because they live in a vacuum where the media does not hold them accountable. That they know that they can get away with it. No one will ever do anything about it. The mainstream, I've broken the story, the mainstream media still hasn't covered it. So they are just arrogant, unaccountable, and willing to do whatever it takes to win.
It's very important, I think, as I looked at the new video today, that you keep in your mind what you disclosed yesterday. There was a point yesterday where Foval is explaining how the operation is set up to allow the Clinton campaign and the DNC, quote, plausible deniability in the event that the true nature of the deliberate violence is discovered. So, and then they go on to explain the flow of money. That's why the flow of money is so important. And yesterday they also talked about we have direct contact with the campaign, direct contact with the White House, direct contact with the DNC. And, you know, we have to just make sure that there's a double blind between the actual campaign, the actual DNC, and what we're doing. There's got to be a double blind so they can have plausible deniability about any of this. And what they're saying is they're all in on it. Hillary's in on it. The campaign's in on it. The DNC is in on it. And even it goes to the Obama White House.
Yeah, and the term he uses, Sean, is Pony Express. He says it's like a Pony Express, which I think is one of the most powerful blinds. He says we need plausible deniability. It's a Pony Express, and Hillary knows about it. In fact, the context is important from yesterday. He says, quote, the Clinton campaign pays the Democratic National Committee. Democratic National Committee pays Democracy Partners, which is the dirty tricks operation. They pay me to go out and execute the blank, the expletive, the violence. So what this is, just like the old mob families, is they use money and influence to put union thugs on the streets to incite violence and steal the vote. And never before in American history have we been able to hear it, watch it, and smell it. You've read about it. You've heard conspiracy theories about it. But now it's been corroborated, not just by one guy, but by a legal alien in Wisconsin who tells us how to do it. Bob Creamer is married to a United States Congresswoman. We're on White House conference calls. And Scott Fogel, who, by the way, has been fired. And now that he's been fired, and by the way, thank you, Sean, for reporting that. Thank you for reaching out to them for comment. You're the first person to do that. And CNN just called me, and they're going to do a story because you did that. So thank you for reaching out to them for comment. They fired Scott Fogel, who's taking the fall for Bob Creamer. And the new video has something on Bob Creamer. So the question is, it's not Fogel's fault. It's the system's fault. It's the White House. It's everyone above Fogel. And are they going to take the fall, too?
And by the way, CNN is a day late and a dollar short as usual, and it's only the pressure that we have. All right, stay right there. We got to take a break. We'll come back. We have more with James O'Keefe, Project Veritas. Not only have we learned about the dark arts of fomenting violence at campaign events to create a false narrative for you, the American people, about Donald Trump and his supporters, but now we've got voter fraud on a level that you cannot believe, and you can see it and hear it with your own eyes and your own ears.
Hannity Headline, a bite-sized version of the show that you can take with you everywhere you go. To sign up today for Hannity Headlines, go to Hannity.com.
We continue now with Project Veritas, and James O'Keefe is back with us. I want to go back. I want to talk a little bit more in detail about part 2 today that you just released. All right, before we get to that, James, I want to remind people what you released yesterday in part 1.
If you're there and you're protesting and you do these actions, you will be attacked at Trump rallies. That's what we know.
So that's part of the process of eliciting the reaction.
The whole point of it is we know that Trump's people will freak out, his security team will freak out, and his supporters will lose their.
This is Scott Fogel. He's the National Field Director for Americans United for Change. He used to work for People for the American Way, an organization funded by George Soros. He also has his own company called the Fogel Group. He is one of the dark operatives for the Clinton campaign.
We were contracted directly with the DNC and the campaign. Both.
Yeah.
I'm contracted to him, but I answer to the head of special events for the DNC and the head of the special events and political for the campaign.
The campaign pays DNC, DNC pays Democracy Partners pays the Fogel Group, the Fogel Group goes and executes.
Democracy Partners is a private political consulting company with deep ties to Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama's White House, and the Democratic National Committee.
We are the primary mechanism as a team. Democracy Partners is the tip of the spear on this.
Wherever Trump and Pence are going to be, we have events.
Okay.
And we have a whole team across the country that does that. Both consultants and people from the Democratic Party and the Democratic Party apparatus and people from the campaign, the Clinton campaign. And my role with the campaign is to manage all that.
So I'm basically Deputy Rapid Response Director for the DNC for all things Trump on the ground.
This guy is Aaron Black. He works full-time for Creamer at Democracy Partners. He directs the spontaneous protests at Trump and Pence events. His real name is actually Aaron Minter. We don't know why he uses the name Black.
Nobody's really supposed to know about me. So the Chicago protest, when they shut all that was us. It was more him than me, but none of this is supposed to come back to us because we want it coming from people. We don't want it to come from the party. So if we do a protest and it's DNC protest, it's right away the press is going to say partisan. But if I'm in there coordinating with all the groups on the ground and sort of playing field general, but they're the ones talking to the cameras, then it's actually people. But if we send out press advisories with DNC on them and Clinton campaign, it doesn't have the same effect.
There's a script.
Okay.
There's a script of engagement. Sometimes the crazies bite, and sometimes the crazies don't bite. They're starting confrontations in the line, right? They're not starting confrontations
The volunteers.
in the rally, because once they're inside the rally, they're under Secret Service's control. When they're outside the rally,
They're more effective out. They're harder to get in.
the media will cover it no matter where it happens.
I assume it's always in the rally.
Initiating the conflict by having leading conversations with people who are naturally psychotic.
Right.
Okay, I mean, honestly, it is not hard to get some of these to pop off.
Right.
It's a matter of showing up to want to get into the rally in a Planned Parenthood t-shirt, or, Trump is a Nazi. You can message to draw them out and draw them to punch you.
So there's like a Morse code between the DNC and the super PACs.
It's
you
less of a Morse code than it is a text conversation that never ends. The thing that we have to watch is making sure there's a double blind between the actual campaign and the actual DNC and what we're doing. There's a double blind there. So that they can plausibly deny that they knew anything about it.
Undercover investigation that has gone on for over a year. You had 8 separate people that have been able to infiltrate this dark arts group that has direct connections to Hillary Clinton's campaign, the DNC, Democracy Partners, and even up to the White House.
You the chairman?
Now, in this investigation today, you talk about this backroom dark arts effort for voter fraud. Explain in detail exactly what people will see when they watch your tape.
Thank you, Sean. So the video yesterday was about inciting violence at Trump rallies, and we can revisit that. But today's video is about voter fraud and the election being rigged. This has been the number one dominant media narrative all over the last few days, was that Republicans need to condemn Trump because he said that the voting is rigged. Well, guess what? The video today shows operatives. These are dark money operatives, dirty tricks operatives that, by the way, are illegally coordinating with the super PAC of Hillary and Hillary's campaign. But we'll get to that in a minute. And these operatives are describing how they commit the voter fraud. They describe they bust, quote, we've been busing people across state lines for 50 years, and he uses language I cannot repeat on the radio. And he says, we can go to certain states with weak-kneed Republican governors who won't prosecute us and get away with it. And he describes a state like Michigan and Rick Snyder and Indiana and Wisconsin. And then he says how they do it. And I can't quote him because it's so graphic and obscene, but I'll at least summarize it. He says, we'll create shell companies to disguise the fraud. We'll use rental cars instead of buses because rental cars, you can't tell that where it's coming from. And he describes that he's a former private investigator. He used to run the investigation, so he understands how the system works and how to get around it. And then this individual, this dark operative, describes a person that he can connect us with, someone that he says, do not repeat his name to anybody. He says, his name is Cesar Vargas. And we go meet with Cesar Vargas in New York City. And Cesar Vargas runs an illegal immigration organization where he gets out the illegal immigrants to vote and commits, quote-unquote, civil disobedience, is what he calls it. We say, you mean voter fraud? And he said, well, it's illegal, but we can try to do it. He's on tape saying that it's illegal and that he's going to do it, not just now, but specifically in the midterms in 2018. And Sean, the only way we got access to all these people is because we spent a year infiltrating and investigating and building relationships with them.
But Fogle also said we've always done it. We're going to continue to do it. And if we can't bus him in, we'll just bring him in by car.
Yes.
He bragged about how he's old school. Yeah, he's old school. They've been doing this for 50 years.
Yes. And by the way, just a little bit of news here. Someone just put this in front of me. The Cruz subcommittee on federal rights wants to call a congressional hearing before the election, and they're going to subpoena Bob Creamer and Scott Fogle for more information.
Don't worry about that, because James Comey will step in, and he's going to end up giving them a special deal, and of course they will plead the fifth, and we're not going to find out. People are going to have to watch this video themselves. Let me tell you how this is going to work. They will offer immunity probably to all of them, and then nothing is going to happen because the whole system is bankrupt and it is corrupt. It's corrupt at a level that nobody ever imagined before this election season. Between WikiLeaks and what you're doing, I feel like America's now a banana republic. America is a country in massive decline.
Hillary is. Sean, let me just say one thing that's a little hopeful, because you're preaching to the choir. We're in violent agreement with one another. Nothing's going to happen with this.
Well, not violent, but go ahead.
I mean, I'm violent, but we're in complete agreement with one another. I believe that this story, and I'm watching Twitter and Facebook and Reddit and all these things. It's like the barbarians at the gates. Their dam is cracking, and the social media, grassroots media, is now becoming equal to or greater than the mainstream media, because I'm getting like 10,000 retweets on every one of my tweets. We're inundating the inboxes of CNN, ABC, NBC, and all these places, and they are now starting to ask for comment. So what my point is, I think we have to, like you said, we have to put pressure on the government, and the people have to, there's a power shift from the mainstream media to the grassroots happening as I speak. And I think that's what's happening. I think it's a good thing for democracy, and I think
I agree with you. Listen, I think there's a chance. I think between WikiLeaks and what you're releasing every day, and how many more days will you be releasing stuff?
Well, my team has pulled almost 2 all-nighters in a row, so we're going to try to do it every day, if not every day, almost every day up until the election.
Okay. I think this could have a profound impact on this election, but this is what the media is going to do to you, James, because they've done it to you before, and I've been putting you on my programs for years. And that is, they're going to go, oh, James, where did you get your money from? Oh, James, how did you edit this? Oh, James, isn't this selective editing? And clearly, you can't take out of context the things that these people are saying. But you know that's coming, and I know that's coming.
Let me tell you something. Sources are telling me. I mean, people are whispering. The people see this video, and there hasn't been one left-wing website which has said a darn thing about me, about this video.
Not even Media Matters?
Not even Media Matters. By the way, Media Matters is implicated in this. We have a video coming out on Media Matters. Media Matters is source funded. We met with their president. We'll get into that another day. But they haven't said anything, and because it's so manifestly damning. This video, I have a team
It is
of
damning.
people.
This should change. Listen, if the American people watch these videos, James, this should absolutely ensure that Hillary Clinton can never be the president of the United States. They're that powerful.
That's correct. But if the media, but here's the thing, right? The media needs to push the videos. And what you're seeing right now is a grassroots media, which is almost as powerful as the mainstream media. If they played these videos on the air at ABC News, Hillary would lose. There's no question about it. Because if people could hear and smell the rot and the stench of what they're saying, they would be like, I don't want to live in that world. But the media has a firewall, and we have to break through it. And the only way to break through it is to mobilize your army of people, which is listening right now. And if I could make one request, it would be for everyone listening to this program to go get this video. It's on YouTube and everywhere else, and tweet it out at the journalists, because we did this yesterday and it worked. And Sean, you did it on your TV program, or your program, and you asked people to get it out, and it worked. So go on Twitter, go on Facebook, embed the video.
I'm asking everybody. It's on my Twitter account. It's on Hannity.com, at Sean Hannity on Twitter. It's on my Facebook account. Find it, retweet it, post it, and get your friends and get everybody you know to watch these videos, because if the American people see this, and then they add to it. I don't know if you've noticed in the work that I'm trying to do on the WikiLeaks revelations too, the media's not touching that either. I mean,
the media talked about that hot mic sex comment for a week.
Oh my God!
And this is something that's much more fundamental and constitutional. And it is. I mean, can you imagine if Corey Lewandowski for the Trump campaign said, "quote, I don't care about the law. We need to win this mother effer," unquote? Can you imagine?
That's in the tape today. Yeah, that's in the tape today.
And they've gotten all over the TV for doing 100 times things less than that.
Well, let me ask you this. Can you tell me the last question? What else, as much as you can tell, and how many more people are going to be implicated, and how high up will this go?
Well, so our next installment, we have more tape involving commentary about and discussion about Hillary Clinton and what she's personally approved. And these are not low-level people. These are high-level people that meet with her, that visit with her, and we have a paper trail. So I think I got to run. Yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off, and hopefully we will continue these interviews every day. James O'Keefe, thank you.
Thank you.